Okay, welcome to the first market breakdown for AutoTrade.ai. We are a crypto exchange and trading platform, an all-in-one place for all your crypto needs. Today was supposed to be a live stream, but we couldn't get our live stream to work, so it's going to be a recorded video instead. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and Dogecoin today. Let us know in the comments if there's anything else you want us to cover in next week's recap. But for now, these are the four that we are going to look at. So the first one we're going to look at is Bitcoin. We're looking right now at the weekly chart on Bitcoin. What I can see right here is we just tapped into the previous swing high. Okay, let's see what else we have here. So last week we tapped into, or 2 weeks ago we tapped into a really strong level of support clearly, and we seem to be rejecting it, but we haven't really pushed off too much. It's been a lot of accumulation going on in the last, what was that be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks or so. So basically we're going to need to see a breakout either of these lows down here, or we're going to need to see a breakout of these highs up here. We'll drop into the lower time frames and see kind of what we're looking at. Okay. So right off the hop, what I can see is we're sitting at a level of support. But if you look here, we have a super clean fair value gap that was printed. We had a huge expansion leg down, printed a fair value gap, tapped into it, rejected it. So what we're going to be looking for here is either for it to continue lower, it needs to break this and form another fair value gap, or I think we're going to be headed right back up, probably to around this area right here. So let's see. Go here. Boom. Probably would be targeting right around here if we were to drop. Oops. Conversely, if we were to continue higher, what I would want to see is I would want to see us push up, break this high right here, pull back, then go up and target this area right here. As it sits right now, we don't really know. The bias is a little bit more on the bullish side as opposed to the bearish side, but if we do break this support, we're going to be looking at it tanking pretty quickly. That being said, my long-term bias for Bitcoin is actually bullish, but just for the next week, just to influence some trading decisions here, I would be looking to see how we react around this level. Okay. Long term, bullish. Until we break out of this range market, this accumulation phase, there's really no bias to be had. We have to wait for a break either way. This being said, right, there's still going to be intraday trades, but right now we're just looking at a higher level just to see for the next like 5 days really where we think this this chart's going to be going. Need break. Okay, next let's take a look at Ethereum here. So take a look at the monthly chart. Ethereum is really pumping right now. This being said, even though Ethereum is pushing up, there still is a bearish bias on the monthly chart. Reasoning for that is I got this fair value gap right here. We did push into it and we rejected, but we failed to make new lows off the rejection. And we have been printing we have a fair value gap right here that printed within that previous fair value gap, therefore delegitimizes it. So realistically speaking, that's a really weak end to the month. That's a really weak looking monthly chart right now. If we drop down to the weekly, we'll see some resistance for sure. I just want to point out this area right here as a possible target if we do continue higher. Okay, let's look at the weekly chart here. So the weekly chart right now is trending bullish. We're above the 50 EMA. We created a new high, violating the previous swing low. We created a new swing low that remained above the previous swing low right here. This is good news for more bullish momentum. The only thing I'm looking at though right now is that we do have a small fair value gap right here that we tapped into that we're coming off of. But this is super rangy here, and there's really not a whole lot. But I mean, we're inside of a monthly fair value gap right now, so if we bust out of this into the bullish side there, it's going to be a violent move. But hey, if we were able to keep busting up, I mean, we're pretty clear to hit that target there of 3,600. Let's look at the daily chart, see how that looks. Okay. So right now the daily chart looks pretty good actually. We have another fair value gap right here. We remained above the 50 EMA. Continuously creating higher highs, higher lows. Always good to see. So that being said, we created the fair value gap right here. And for us to continue higher, I'm going to want to see a nice expansion leg out of this zone here. And that'll be another candle printed similar to this, where we're starting to take out the previous 3-4 candle highs. So we're right here, we're just accumulating in this fair value gap. That being said though, my bullish for Ethereum in the coming week would be more on the bullish side. Definitely staying away from selling Ethereum this week. So not to in addition to that fair value gap, we also have the daily resistance that's showing as support. So now we're just stacking confluence here, and the bias is definitely more bullish than bearish. Okay, let's take a look at Ripple now. Look at the monthly chart on Ripple here. Let's get rid of these. Get rid of these drawings here. So based on the monthly chart for Ripple, I mean, realistically, it's a little bit more bearish than it would be bullish. Reasoning for that is we got a fair value gap right here, touched into it, closed back in the fair value gap, made a move lower, created a broke market structure here, but that was not sustained. Then we also tested it 2 more times. and still haven't seen a move lower. But we also haven't seen a move higher. We're just sitting in accumulation right now on Ripple. And this chart looks pretty messy, honestly. Based on the higher time frames, my long-term bias for this is probably just not even to hold anything right now. I do have some of this, but it's not a major part of my portfolio. Yeah, we're just accumulating right now. We did create a lower, high, but we haven't created the lower low yet on the weekly chart here. So until we break that, I mean, realistically, I'm neutral. I'm neutral on Ripple. Okay. Let's look at the daily. For the next week, though, honestly, with Ripple, I'm more bearish than anything. I see this low right here. That could be a target, but the biggest thing that I'm seeing right now is fair value gap, below the 50 EMA. We did break this market structure here on this leg down from that fair value gap, and we have another fair value gap right here. So realistically, the other thing that we need to look at too is this. We also have a little level of support right here. So the biggest thing that I'm looking at right now for this chart is I want the next candle to print breaking this candle low. If we can get a strong hold down on this candle there, then I would be looking for it to push the targets here. First targets would be this low right here, but realistically, this is my next target. And once we break this low, there's really nothing stopping us from getting there. It's also a pretty decent target as well, because if we look at here, we have a level of support. There. So realistically speaking, we need the next candle to print bearish. I wanted to break the previous candle low, and I wanted to break the candle before's low. And if we were able to break those two lows, then I would be looking to get into the market bearish. I would not be looking for any bullish moves this week, honestly. There's just so much traffic around this area here. I wouldn't be looking for anything bullish until we started breaking these next couple highs here. Which would be this one right here and this one right here. So until we start breaking these highs, I wouldn't be looking for a bullish move. And that being said, even if we did get a bullish move, there's not a whole lot of room past these highs before we run into the major resistance zone. So for the time being, until we break through this major resistance zone here, I'm bearish on Ripple for the short term. Long term, I still think it's a decent hold based on what Ripple's going to be used for. But if I'm trading, I'm looking to take profit out of the market. Would not be looking long on Ripple, at least not in the short term. Let's move over to Dogecoin. Nice spike on Doge there on the daily. Let's look at the monthly chart here. Wow. Really, really weak monthly close. This is the first thing I'm looking at here, is that we tapped into a previous swing low and rejected it. The issue with that is that's a super weak close. And I know if I drop into the lower time frames, I'm going to see some fair value gaps pushing away from that zone. But the one thing that I am looking at here on Ripple is this monthly fair value gap right here that we're sitting at. We tapped back into that fair value gap and rejected it on the first touch. So the good thing with that is, even though it was a weak close bullish, the fact that we printed a fair value gap after an expansion and we rejected it on the first touch, super clean move. The only thing I would like to see is we need this monthly candle to go bullish. So if we go into the weekly, let's see what we're looking at here. Oh, that's perfect. So the weekly chart actually printed a fair value gap as well. Now we tapped into it and we broke through it, and usually this would be a sign of that this fair value gap is just not worthwhile. That being said though, we haven't printed a fair value gap pushing down away from it, so it hasn't necessarily been invalidated yet because we did touch into the monthly fair value gap. We also crossed over on the 50 EMA, and we're looking at this high right here. If we can keep ourselves above this previous swing high, and we can create a new swing high this week, we're definitely going to be looking bullish on Doge. Let's go back into the daily though, and let's see what we're looking at for the next week or so. Daily chart looks nice. The daily chart looks nice, I will say. So right now that's what we're looking at. I got a fair value gap right here on the daily chart. So now we're stacking fair value gaps. So we're building serious bullish confluence here for Doge, making a really good statement for some bullish activity this week. The other thing that I like to see too is that we had a fair value gap right here, a bearish fair value gap. From this fair value gap, we should have been pushing lower, creating fair value gaps as we went lower, but we didn't. We printed another fair value gap right here, nice rejection right here, but keep in mind we're sitting in the monthly fair value gap right here, so there should be some bullish pressure, which there clearly is. But the nice thing is that we pushed down, we went into the monthly fair value gap, then we expanded out of the monthly fair value gap bullish on the daily chart. That's beautiful to see. And additionally, on the first expansion, we also printed a bullish fair value gap, invalidating all these other fair value gaps. And we're staying above the previous high. And we're staying above the 50 EMA right now, showing some rejection. So right now, daily chart for this week, my bias for Dogecoin is definitely on the bullish side. I'd be looking for nothing but buys this week on Doge. Anything other than a buy, I would be weary of, just because we're building up so much bullish pressure here. Definitely look for buys this week on Doge. Okay, so those were the four cryptocurrency pairs that we said we were going to go through this week. Like I said, it was supposed to be a live stream today, but we ran into some technical difficulties. So we're going to be doing live streams every Sunday and every Wednesday. We're going to be breaking down charts. If there's anything that you want to see cryptocurrency-wise, any questions, anything like that, leave them in the comments, and the next stream we'll be able to address them for you. Let us know what you thought about this in the comments below. Leave a like and share with your friends. Bye.